Hello, my name is Kanani Solis. I am a transgender man. I am 23 this year. I live in California. I am making this video to whoever sees it and has an open mindset that being transgender is something you suffer with from the moment you start realizing that you're not the typical girl or boy that you see other people to be. I did not realize that I was transgender until I was 13 years old. Before that, I didn't realize the real difference between being a boy or being a girl until I had hit puberty at the age of 11. I noticed that changes were happening that weren't normal to me. Prior to hitting puberty, I had started growing hair in my armpits and other areas. I was being shamed for having hair, which I didn't understand because boys didn't have any shame. They weren't getting shamed for it, and I didn't feel like I needed to be shamed for it at all. It didn't hit me exactly how different being a boy and being a girl was until I had hit puberty because of the changes that were happening, and I was very uncomfortable. Being in the girls' locker room was an uncomfortable experience, pretty traumatic for me. I would always have to change in the bathroom stalls. Granted, that's with other girls who are also shy, but for me, it was a little more personal. I would literally try to go to the boys' bathroom and the boys' locker room, and I would be stopped because that was considered wrong. I had come out about 2 years after I figured out that I was transgender. How I figured out that I was transgender was at first from 7th grade to 8th grade, I was out as gender fluid because I was confused about my gender identity. I had been going back and forth between being a male and female, but I had mostly been comfortable being identified as male. I started wearing more masculine clothing, as more people would categorize it as. I had started experimenting with being called he, him, and I went through some names, some Japanese names because I like anime, and going back and forth between the name Caesar and the name Ken. By the time I had fully come out as transgender when I was 15, I had decided to stick with Ken. I was known as Ken until I had gotten with my ex-spouse. We have a child together. During the time that I was with him, I was forced to stop calling myself Ken. I was forced to stop referring to myself as male in order to make him happy. That had affected my mental state very harshly, and I fell into depression. Just the fact that I couldn't be identified as male no longer was ruining my mental state so much that I tried to ignore it. I pushed it down, and it caused my depression to spiral even faster than in previous years. I had a plan previously to getting together with that person, that I was going to transition. I was going to get a job. I was going to save up the money in order to transition. when I had turned 18. That didn't happen. I had been with that person for a while, and it just wasn't something that was a good thing. But at the same time, I'm glad that I have the experience that I did, because I know who I am. I know that I've always been who I am. And now I have a little girl to dote on, and she knows me as daddy, and she knows that I'm the best dad. That's what she says anyways. Um but prior to getting on testosterone back in May of 2019, I had um I had started trying to get my name and gender changed on my birth certificate. I am still trying to figure out what documents I need to sign and send in to the Social Security Administration in order to change it on my social. But I did manage to get my name and gender changed on my um, certificate with no real problem. It also helps that I'm on Medi-Cal, so the fees were covered. But just knowing that I am no longer legally the name that I was, which was Courtney Solis, it just makes it so much better in my heart knowing that. Because before I had started testosterone, I had already looked into name changing because I wanted to start slow. I ended up starting testosterone before getting my name changed, and that's fine. I was still known as Kanani. Um, and then I had gotten my name and gender changed on my certificate, and last August I had finally had top surgery, and I am currently talking to my doctor about getting bottom surgery, specifically metoidioplasty. I personally think that it's a good thing to start off with a name and gender change on a certificate first, because you really start to feel the change. You start to feel like the burdens of your dysphoria are starting to melt away, and that people are going to be able to accept you easier, because on documentation they won't know you as your birth name. They will know you as who you are, who you have given yourself a title for. And just that alone, that basic respect of somebody's name, whether they're trans or not, is something we all know to be comforting. You don't go around calling a man a female name when he's clearly not a female. So why would you call a transgender person the wrong name or force them to live with the wrong name when it's detrimental to their mental health? That you at least show some sort of respect and some sort of support. uh, I personally believe that states and countries that require you to get gender reassignment surgery or start the hormone process before getting that simple name change is just a little more traumatic, because some people aren't ready for the surgeries or they can't afford it, so it prolongs the process. It's not something we want to do to ourselves. It is something we find necessary to do, because we're just trying to be normal people. We're trying to get along in life like everybody else. So, luckily for myself, not a lot of people have this kind of luck of getting to live in a state that is completely supportive of the LGBT plus community. We here in California believe that anybody can start their transition at whatever stage they want to. At least that's what I've experienced. That's what my my doctor, Dr. Philip Henderson, has experienced, or at least expressed to me. And I believe that if somebody wants to start with a simple name change to get a start in their transition, they should be able to. It it's not hurting anybody else. It's not affecting anybody else's lives. Maybe your emotions, maybe your confusion, but those heal over time. You get used to things over time. Living with a constant state of mind that this isn't right, you can't get over that. You live with PTSD the rest of your life once you get it. It just gets a little easier to cope with. You live with dysphoria your whole life, even after transition. It just gets easier to live with. So I do believe that it should be allowed all over the world to start a transition where you feel comfortable starting in transition. Because there are plenty of transgender people who don't want to medically transition or surgically transition. I personally am only getting one half of my bottom surgeries that I would need, because that's my personal choice. I don't want full bottom surgery. I want the first half, and I'll be okay. I've already thought about that long and hard, and nobody can tell me any different. So I really hope that this is taken into consideration, that allowing a transgender person to start wherever they feel comfortable would be the best option. Thank you for listening.